Welcome to the Real Estate Investor Goddesses podcast. I'm your host, Monique Hom. On this show, I interview amazing, badass women that are crushing it in the real estate investing or finance, money space. And I am super excited today to have here with us somebody who I really admire. Actually, I was on her podcast recently, Alainta Alcin, who is a fellow Haitian American. And I was on her podcast, The Financial Griot. And she's the self-titled 9-to-5 CEO, world traveler, and financial enthusiast. She's increased her net worth by 40% by eliminating consumer debt, investing, and becoming a homeowner. Her story on going from less than $3,000 in retirement savings to a positive net worth of over $100,000 is amazing. She's been featured on CNBC and Bankrate media publication websites, gaining attraction on financial literacy tips and strategies. After a tough money conversation with a friend that changed her money trajectory, she is now on $1 million path. After spending 3 years in South Korea and traveling Asia and Europe, she's back home in the US now. But the world is never too far. She's back to take on life's challenges and teach others how to simply change your trajectory to earn the success you've worked for. Welcome.
Yay. Thank you, Monique. I'm so happy to be here. I love the fact how you say griot, like the real way, griot.
Yeah.
You got to say it with the accent. You know, sometimes people are like, griot, what's that? Like it's always
it's something delicious.
Yeah, it's always an explanation behind that story. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, griot is a Haitian dish.
Yes. It's a really delicious Haitian dish with deep fried pork. You have your fried plantains. You have your lettuce. You get rice. It's so much a mixture you can do with griot, but it really standardized with the pork or
the griot is the deep fried pork, and it's delicious.
It's good. It's awesome.
So what made you come up with that name, the Financial Griot?
Yeah, it was just really on play on words, just coming up with my friends, with Lawrence, the other co-hosts, as well as Lovely, Mardellis. And we're just on Zoom, just chatting like we're doing right now. And we're like, yeah, we're going to do this podcast. Like, what will be our name? And we're like, it has finance, but we have to kind of connect it to our culture and the lineage, right? So we're trying to come up with all these things. We're like, financial Haiti or financial, like we're just trying to say all these things. And just Lauren just kind of threw it out there and said, griot. And we're like, griot. And we kind of think of it like we were starting off saying with griot is the dish, right? It's a Haitian dish, famous dish, the deep fried pork. And turkey, if you will. But griot is actually, if you look it up, is stories, is a orator, right? And during slavery time, we all used to come together and share our stories while we're eating. And that's how a lot of information was shared. That's how a lot of things were passed around in terms of sharing information within those stories. And that's really essentially what we do on the Financial Griot podcast. We share our stories, but within those stories, you kind of get this gem, what we call it, right? And these actionable steps that kind of encourage you and inspire you to do better. And it's all surrounded around, of course, money.
I love it. And it's a great show. So y'all have to check it out. So I know that you got home ownership, buying a house was a big part of, shifting your, what happened with you financially. So I'll go back even further because you went from $3,000 to over $100,000. And you also talk, when I shared your bio, there was a very important conversation that you had that really shifted your trajectory. So tell us a backstory. What happened and how'd you make that huge shift?
So I always thought it was this aha moment. You know how Oprah Winfrey said these aha moments, but I call it these nuggets that became an aha moment altogether collectively, right? So traveling to South Korea, I taught English right after college. I decided to do the nomad for a few years. And while there, I just kind of gained a sense of trust in myself and to kind of take on challenges, because you are leaving, the country you're born and raised in the US. I'm a Florida girl, and just going to a different part of the world. That's something totally different, right? And learning a new culture, learning the language, trying to get around. And what I noticed was with Korean culture and Asian culture specifically, is they really focus on education, but they really center around their children and their family, really deep rooted family values. And I see how much the parents and even the students I had at the time just value and respected their parents and their family, and really work hard in terms of education to be the best. No matter what it was, just try to strive and be the best. And I kind of took that in things I was observing and saying that I have challenged myself now to, embark on this new journey. What can I do better? So I start writing these things down when I was in Korea. And so I really need to get my money matters together. And at the time, I had my friend Lawrence, when I was in Korea, he was still here in the US. We were college friends. And he was posting on Facebook when Facebook used to be the thing, right? He was posting on Facebook, really being transparent about, his net worth. And I think at the time it was like negative 80, 100,000. I don't know what it was. Yeah, like these massive student loans that he was accumulating, going off to master's, trying to get his higher education and such. And he was just like really being transparent about like understanding how money works. And while he was posting, being transparent, it kind of inspired me to see how can I focus on myself while I was in South Korea to really work on my money management. Because the best thing being a English teacher while working abroad is a lot of your accommodations are covered in terms of expenses, like huge expenses, right? When it comes to housing, if you're sponsored by the school or the government, they will give you like a stipend, and that's covered for the entire year. Usually what you'll have to cover through your salary is like a phone bill, maybe like water, lights, that sort of thing, whatever. But the huge, the accommodation for housing is mainly covered. And if you are a teacher, you get free lunches. That's the great part about that too. So morning lunches as well as morning breakfast as well as lunches were covered. So I started really noticing how I have this great opportunity to kind of optimize, the money I was making. And quite honestly, it wasn't as much. It was what I was making in the US, but it was what you actually keep after all your expenses.
That's what you make that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. After all your expenses are said and done, you're paid. Like I had a lot of money, and like going back, just cross-referencing to Lawrence and looking at what he was doing on social media, it encouraged me, because I think at the time I was preparing myself to become a better person. And I think that I wanted more control. And control for me was not only like kind of, rooted myself to another country, challenging myself, but I need to kind of like step in to those deep rooted issues when it comes to money. Like, how did I fall into all these collections? How is my credit score like just crashing 6,500, right? After graduating college. So I really started taking a lot of stock of my life. And this is like 23, 24 years old, before I was 25. And doing that, I start like taking down just like to-do lists. It's like my credit score, start tapping in, like, what is my credit score? How much collections that I had? I didn't realize I had medical collections from, high school. Like, what is this coming from? Right. So those are things start to make me more aware of what was going on in my money. Like, so doing that and coming back from South Korea and just paying off just some small debt I was doing in South Korea from like collections, anything along those matters. It started really just putting that perspective and that I'll say the fire in me. So traveling different country, meeting incredible people, coming back, reconnecting with Lawrence, reconnecting with my other friends. I'm like, hey, I like what you're doing. I like how you've been transparent. So we went off to this conference together. I kind of accompany him. It wasn't my conference. You kind of like crash like, hey, I have an extra, extra bed if you want to come. So it was one of those things. And we just had a great conversation at dinner to say, what is your net worth? And being in South Korea, I was doing all these cool things and paying off stuff. I'm thinking I'm in control, right? No, I didn't know what the net worth was. I thought like, well, I don't know what Credit Karma says. Like maybe it's negative. And I kind of knew what the net worth was, but I was really ashamed to tell him. Even though we were really cool and really close, right? I was really ashamed to tell him because there's something about talking about money, and I think is a level of vulnerability that you have to shed and you have to show to people, because it shows that not only you're irresponsible sometimes, it shows that you don't have control. It shows that you're irrational, right? And it shows that, you're fake, and that's how I felt. I felt like me not having control of my money, me not, being responsible, the big age that I was, I felt revealed. And it took me time to reflect on that conversation because I knew it's something that I had to change. And it took that conversation for me to realize, to say that I know my net worth and I'm going to be transparent to share with others what my net worth. But I first have to acknowledge that with myself. That I had a negative $52,000 net worth, including student loans and other bills that I had. And I had to really take control and acknowledge, okay, this is what has happened. I know this now. What do you do, right? Moving forward. And I think I start to just push forward and create a plan for myself. First, for me, is eliminating consumer debt. I didn't know I had a spending problem. I think a lot of people may write off, spending problems and issues and say that it's an income issue. And for me, writing things down and tracking my money, I wasn't tracking as much. Like, yeah, I'll pay it off, paying off things. But once I start tracking and managing my money, I can honestly say it wasn't an income problem. It was a spending problem. This is 2014, 2016 or something like that along those lines. I was making less than $50,000 as a single woman. I felt as though I just wasn't making enough because after the fact of expenses and everything that was being paid, I had little to nothing in my name. And paying off credit card debt, it kind of a reoccurring cycle where the same credit card that I paid off, I'm putting another $200, $300 on it the following month. And it kind of created a cycle where I am continuously being subjective where I need my credit cards, right? So eliminate consumer debt and kind of really pushing forward of how I can apply systems and practical steps to get me to a point where utilizing my 401k, utilizing the things that are accessible to me to get me to that point, practical strategies and tips. And that's what I did. And those things led me, a few years later to become a first-time homeowner in 2020.
Wow, there's so much there. Sorry, that. But yeah, that's an incredible story. I mean, I heard the importance of awareness, just knowing, like the tracking, knowing where your money is going. The problem of the real issue being not just what you make, but what you get to keep, what you keep. That makes a difference, though. Keeping in terms of your expenses, keeping in terms of, so I often think about that too, in terms of the taxes you pay, but keeping also in terms of not overspending, which was something that I suffered with. I had a good salary and it was so easy to spend it all and be left with nothing at the end of the month. So, all of that, just getting that awareness and tracking your money make such a big difference. So you went from this negative 52,000 to now over 100,000 net worth. Tell us a little bit about getting that first house.
So me purchasing my first house was a not only just satisfying, right? It was just everything all together, but the climate in itself, because it was in the height of 2020. This is the end of 2020. I purchased my home. And at that time, here in Florida, they were purchasing homes like Hot Pockets. Like some places were sight unseen. People were purchasing homes. But in the midst of that, I wasn't discouraged because I was actually more motivated. I was historically just receiving these great rates that we never heard in entire, US history of housing markets, right? So I thought that, okay, if one house didn't work out for me, then I could just continue looking at other homes. And I didn't want to feel the need like others in 2020 to rush into a home. But I always, like pray to God, and I focus on what I needed. And I'm saying, if it's for me, then it's for me. Right. And I was very specific what I needed to do, going through the pre-approval process, knowing my budget, knowing the down payment, where I'm going to retrieve the down payment from, as well as knowing how much I want to pay monthly. Right. So I knew exactly what I want. And my agent, my real estate agent at the time, he said, like, you're like one of the easiest clients I ever had. Right. A woman that knows what she wants, the goddess. Right. Yeah. I went through that process, and I will honestly say writing down things is so magical. I can't stress that enough. There's something in terms of writing things down. The pen to paper, maybe you're restating it in your mind while you're writing. I'm not sure the connection there, but there is something magical of writing things down, because the same things that I wrote that I wanted in my home, I got under 200,000. Where I was getting my money. I wanted to close at a certain time. Like, everything I wrote down, I actually got. I want a house that was up to date, renovated. Like, I received everything that I wanted, and I didn't settle for something that I did not want. If it didn't attract to me, if I didn't feel it in my spirit, then I wasn't going to do it. Right. And it was a buyer's market at that time. So I didn't feel the need to rush. So I closed on my home in October, end of October 2020. I moved in November. At that time, I was just so happy. It was the holidays, and I was in a new townhouse. I'm like, yeah, I was just excited, right? And just for me being a single woman, it was very, it wasn't difficult, but I think I was relying too much of others' opinions, because you have some people saying, well, you're not married yet, you don't have kids. Well, what if your future husband has a house? I'm like, well, he's not here yet. So let me focus on what I have control over. So those things kind of got to me from time to time, but I kind of just, my eyes was on the prize of getting a home, because I feel like at any point, especially when it comes to women in real estate, is that honestly, there's no lose situation when you own a home. You will always be a winner. Always be a winner. It has setbacks, of course, with financials and things that you have to renovate or have to buy. I get that, but there's always winners when you are owner. And I always thought that if I'm in a position where I own, then I'm always in a position where, I have a home, a stable payments. I don't have to worry about a landlord. I don't have to worry about eviction or any of those things. So you're in a position where it's better for you in the long term than it's not. So with home ownership, it was a great time, but it came crashing down very fast too. I closed on my home in November 2020. I got laid off in December of 2020. Like literally a month later, before Christmas, I got laid off. Immediately, I was scared. Like, what do I do? Like, how can I move forward? And again, I'm a writer at heart, but I think like with me writing things down and me interpreting, my feelings and trying to get things out is a way and a sign of me how I, talk to God, how I talk to my angels to kind of guide me. Right. So after I kind of soak in the anxiety and the grief, like what the hell I'm going to do? Right. I released it, and I wasn't sure. Well, not necessarily I wasn't sure. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I know for certain I was going to be okay. The hardest part for me was getting the home. I got the home. No one can, take away my home. I'm in the home. I'm in a stable environment. That's the, minimum thing you need is a home. A lot of people are here just really struggling without proper home accommodations. And I'm blessed to say that I have a home. And those are the things I had to remind myself. And then I had, go ahead.
Okay, so you got your sister to move in, or your sister moved
yes,
in,
exactly.
Right?
So it worked out
and was rent and started renting from you. So you
exactly. It worked out perfectly because I actually bounced back pretty fast. I got a job, I think less than 90 days or something. My sister moved in. So it worked out perfectly. And I think sometimes when you're in the thick of things and you're constantly looking so much into the negative, you're not realizing the positive. And I'm a very just a firm thinker of thinking positive, even if you're feeling unsure of the positive thinking. I try to really tap into the energy of thinking positive because my sister was scheduled to move in a few months. And it just happened to be around the time I got a new job, making more money, actually. So it really worked out. But those are the just ups and downs when it comes to either, home ownership or just life, And I think with a home, once again, it's stable and it's a place that, no one can really take away from you. No matter what is going on outside of the world, you always have your house.
I'm going to ask you a question because I find that we learn so much more when things don't go right than when they do. So when you're thinking about your money, your financial journey, your investing journey, what would you say was your biggest mistake and what did you learn from it?
Definitely when I was starting off getting my money management in order, paying off debt that I mentioned to you when I was in South Korea, I was paying off old collections. Like 10 years old. That was still on my credit. Knowing what I know now, that money would have been used for something else. Like what I definitely know now in terms of financial education and literacy, it would have definitely been used for something else. But again, it worked in my favor. But it's something I would never, suggest and advise if it's collection over 5 years, like, do you really want to start over that track for collection? So that's something I would definitely do over if I could. And secondly is not investing early enough, just being scared. When you think about home ownership, I mentioned to you, I've been living alone for quite some time. I'm 33 years old now. So I've been a renter before I purchased my home. I've been a renter. If you want to include South Korea, you can, I guess. I've been a renter for literally half my life. So that has to be 15 to less than 20 years, being a renter from college up until now, just, renting. And we don't think about that time frame, over a decade of renting, when we're looking at a home, how time just moves so fast. And I think people, or young people per se, get afraid of making this huge investment of a home to say that, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if I have to move? The average person typically stay in renting in the same place, especially if it's a good price, right? It's hard to find like great rentals. If it's an average of 3 to 5 years, some people stay like longer. So those 3 to 5 years, you could have been investing in your home. And I didn't look at how fast time goes. It's like you're just paying off your mortgage, you're paying off these things. And I look up, it's like I've been a homeowner over 2 years now, and I'm just like, I wish I would invest sooner, knowing how easy it was, for me renting. It's more responsibility. I'm not gonna sit here and say it wasn't. It's more responsibility. Of course, you have to have your P's and Q's in order in your documents. But if I took that same mindset that I have now and applied it to the time that I had before, I probably would have been 2 or 3 properties in by now. But we don't look at the time frame of that, and I'm just like thinking that logic of, that decade, I could have been a homeowner by then. But I think it just the fear, and a lot of people my age wasn't doing it.
Well, when you know better, you do better.
You do better. Exactly.
That is such a common answer to that question. It's like, I wish I'd my biggest mistake was not my big spot. I haven't gotten in the game sooner. Or the flip side, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm just most proud of my growth. You know, every year I get better. Every year I gain more enlightenment in perspective of my life. I'm just happy I'm able to connect with, incredible people like you. I have a successful podcast, the Financial Griot, and just really sharing, information, practical tips and strategies where people can position themselves and be more encouraged when it comes to their money management. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I'm becoming the person that I always needed when I was younger.
I love that. And to what do you attribute your success?
I want to be Snoop Dogg right now and says myself.
Well, what about yourself?
No, I'm not going to say that.
You can say that. But what specifically about yourself?
So I just want to thank myself. Not specifically myself. I would say what it takes a community. I'm not going to say it's solely myself, because I took on the challenge, but it took people like Lawrence, like my best friend Holly, or Lovely, my co-host of the Financial Griot. It took their guidance and their perspective in my community and my network of people to help me and guide me. I think a lot of people, and I can speak for myself, is I'm extremely ambitious, but I was misguided. It's a lot of things I could have done better, but just being misguided. And it took me to, travel to different countries and live in different places and come back with a better mindset and wanting and desiring to be a better person. And I think I attracted a community who wanted better for themselves as well, and who was doing better. So they helped me, influence me to become the woman that I want to be. So they really inspire me every day in my family.
What do you wish you'd known at the beginning that you now know?
Ooh, that's a lot. It's definitely just, challenging fear, really tapping into fear and looking over, the other side. I think for me, I was selling too much into fear and too much into what ifs. If all these things gone wrong, what if I didn't go to South Korea? What if I didn't purchase this home? What if? You don't put enough energy into what if it does become successful? And it just took me a long time to get over fear. And I just wish that I had enough, that courage to get over it as soon as I could, because I think I wasted a lot of time and energy thinking I wasn't capable or I wasn't good enough to do any of these things. And I think a part of that is not seeing enough people that looks like me or, talk enough to me to say that you are able and you are capable. So for me, it's definitely getting over that hump over fear, because on the other side of that is a better person. It's a better you.
All right. Before we get into our famed end of show Trinity questions, I want you to share what is the best way for people to connect with you, find out more about you and what you do.
Yes, absolutely. So they can connect with the Financial Griot. The Financial Griot podcast is on every podcast platform, Apple, Spotify. We're even on YouTube. Yes, we're on YouTube. No visuals yet, but you can definitely hear us. We're on YouTube, but you can follow me on my personal IG handle at Alainta _. And I'm on YouTube as well, my own personal brand of YouTube, where I share strategies, tips, and personal development. That's something that I love. And I love to share different things and different strategies to help people kind of grow and evolve into a better person, because I know those things has helped me in the past and continuously to help me as well, because it's more about money. When you think about it, it's about control, it's about your habits and behavior. So I tap into that as well. So check me out on YouTube.
Awesome. All right. So now it's time for our Trinity, which is a brag, a gratitude, and a desire. So what's one thing you're celebrating right now? What's your brag?
My brag right now is we just been officially nominated. The Financial Griot, we're semi-finalists on the Haitians Who Blog Creative Digital Award. So is being nominated for Podcast of the Year. So I will be sharing that pretty soon, so everyone can vote for us for Podcast of the Year. So that's something I'm super proud of, because we're a new podcast. So I'm really happy that we're being recognized.
So what's the podcast again? What's the platform again?
The platform is Haitians Who Blog. So it's a digital content award. So I just received the email yesterday. So I just sent out information.
Bragged.
Thank you.
Bragged. And what's one thing you're grateful for?
I guess life in general. Every day I thank God, and I always say this is thanking God in advance for whatever opportunities, wherever love that has opened for me, and whatever blessings that awaits me. So definitely just life, thanking God in advance. Grateful. Beautiful.
And last but not least, what's one thing you desire?
One thing I desire. Hopefully my boyfriend is listening to this. I'm not about to put him out like that. No, one thing I truly desire is having sharing my story and sharing my perspective on a bigger platform. Maybe, TEDx or anything along those lines, and just speaking more and really putting myself out there. And I desire to reach more people and masses of people, not only that look like me, but people that are discouraged, people that don't think they're able and capable. And I hope my story and other stories be able to help them and encourage them that they are able and they're deserving.
Wonderful. Well, so shall your desire be, or so much better than you can imagine.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Y'all, you can connect with Alainta, and it's Alainta. So she's on Instagram at Alainta_Alcin. YouTube, Alainta YouTube. You can find the Financial Griot podcast. And definitely check us out at reigoddesses.com. There you can connect to all our social, find out about our events, our programs, our classes, our investor club, and definitely subscribe and like this podcast so you can never miss another amazing Real Estate Investor Goddesses podcast interview. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.